Seventh grade. I hope you had a good Easter and you slept till 3 o'clock and you didn't bother your parents too much. I'm hoping you're having a good spring. We may be able to see each other. I hope so. Otherwise, keep each other safe. Today we're going to be looking at chapter 20 in the book of Numbers. Chapter 19 we skipped. It was all part of the law that you've read separately. So that'll be in your homework readings. So in chapter 20, we're going to see Moses is going to sin in such a way that he will not be permitted into the promised land. Where we would ask ourselves why. Did he mean it? Was he malicious? Was there something in it that was so bad that he had to be punished so severely? We'll look at that. We also see that his sin dealt with what we've already seen in the past, where there was no water, and that he struck the rock, and water gushed out of the rock. So we're going to see symbolism here. We've seen this before, that streams of grace come from the wounds of Christ. That's how that grace comes to God's people. Um, if you are belong to God and you've ever been shown grace, which you have every minute of your life, it has come as a direct result of the fact that you have a Savior. But what did Moses do and why was he punished? We'll see that today. That'll be the thing to kind of look for in this passage. All right, so let's get started. Chapter 20. Then came the children of Israel, even the whole congregation, into the desert of Sin in the first month, and the people abode in Kadesh, and Miriam died there and was buried. So Miriam was Moses' sister. And there was no water in the congregation, and they gathered themselves together against Moses and against Aaron. And the people chode with Moses and spake, Would God that we have died when our brethren died before the Lord. Remember, they were struck with a plague. Some people were sucked into the earth. Pretty dramatic. They are wishing that they would rather have died than have to endure hardship. Everybody's a griper. Wherefore have you made us come out of Egypt to bring us into this evil place? It is no place of seed or figs or vines or pomegranates, neither is there water to drink. Moses and Aaron went from the presence of the assembly into the door of the tabernacle congregation. They fell upon their faces, and the glory of the Lord appeared to them. Interesting. I can understand Moses doing this, but Aaron is doing this. I think Aaron is learning about God. It takes a long time. It takes a long, long time to learn who God is and how you are to appropriately come to Him. But Aaron was just as imploring of God as Moses was. The people obviously were nasty and shouldn't have done what they did. So instead of just getting back at them and sticking out their tongue back at the people, they prayed instead. Okay, learn it, Brian, learn it. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Take thy rod and gather the assembly together, thou and Aaron thy brother, and speak ye into the rock. So here's the verse I'd like you to keep in your mind. Take your rod. Remember, the rod became the snake and all of that. But speak to the rock before their eyes, and it shall give forth its water. And thou shalt bring forth them of the water of the rock, and ye shall give the congregation and their beasts drink. So if we've already talked about Jesus being the rock of ages, he's the rock cleft for me. Cleft means cleaved or broken. So that first time that Moses came to a different rock, of course, it's the symbolism here. He strikes the rock and water squirts out of the rock, bursts like a broken water main out of the rock. Now we're in the same situation. They need water. Everybody's griping. He says, take your rod and speak to the rock. So if we're talking about Jesus here, in what way, first of all, what do you think Moses is going to do with his rod? And that's one question to ask yourself. What is he going to do? Secondly, why would it not be appropriate to strike that rock a second time? So kind of keep those questions in your mind. Moses took his rod before the Lord as he commanded him, and Moses and Aaron gathered the congregation together before the rock and said unto them, Now here, you rebels, must you fetch out water out of this rock? Okay, he's so mad at them. And Moses lifted up his hand and with his rod smote the rock twice. Slam, slam. And the water came out abundantly, and the congregation drank, and the beasts also. Okay, so everybody was like, "Ah, great trick, I love it. Ah, thank you, just what we wanted, just what we wanted. Too late, though." Okay, and the Lord spake unto Moses and Aaron, because ye believed me not, to sanctify me in the eyes of the children of Israel, therefore you shall not bring this congregation into the land which I have given them. Moses is not going to get to go into the promised land, neither is Aaron. They have, because they were the leaders, and because they did not sanctify God, they did not make God holy in front of them. They, through their, I don't know, they were just fed up. They were being mistreated by the people, and they were fed up, and they did what God had said not to do. They didn't follow his instructions. A lot of people would look at this and go, "Oh, what a God. I wouldn't even want to serve a God like this. So impetuous and so nasty." You have to realize that this is a picture, and it's a picture of Jesus, and there are some things that are just serious, and this is serious. And Moses immediately knows what he's done. Now, it doesn't mean that God has rejected him. He hasn't rejected him at all. God is just as near to Moses as before. God will speak face to face with Moses. In fact, when Moses dies on the top of Mount Nebo, God buries him. So there's a tender friendship almost here. It's strange. Unlike anyone else. No other relationship where it was a face-to-face relationship. Okay, so God knows and loves Moses. But Moses crossed the line because it represented Christ, and God is teaching the entire world about Christ, and it's our greatest need of everything. There's no other need greater. So how serious this is as serious as it gets. So in this case, it's going to cost him. Now, I don't know what cost means. He wanted to go in. Like he was the leader. He wanted to get them all the way. And God said no. Joshua is going to take them across the river. He's not going to go. Now, we're in the book of Numbers. We're going to see Deuteronomy, which is the second telling of the law. They get right up to the border of the promised land, and Moses is going to re-instruct them in the law. Because remember, it was their parents who were the adults during the time at the Mount Sinai. These were kids, and now they've grown up, and many of the adults have died because they're in the wilderness. Remember, just waiting for everybody to die, and they go in as soon as the last adult drops over, then they're ready to go in. These kids needed themselves to hear, and that's what Deuteronomy is. So in this case, you've got Moses who knows that there is consequences for his sin, and he's not going to get to go, and neither is Aaron. Okay? That would have cut you, but yet there was still a close relationship. God didn't abandon them. So it says, let's see. This was the water of Meribah, because of the children of Israel strove with the Lord, and he sanctified in them. And Moses sent messengers from Kadesh unto the king of Edom. Thus they said, thy brother Israel, thou knowest all the travail has befallen us, how our fathers went down into Egypt, that we would dwell in Egypt a long time, and the Egyptians vexed us and our fathers. And we cried unto the Lord, and he heard our voice and sent an angel. He has brought us forth out of Egypt, and behold, we are in Kadesh, the city on the utmost of thy border. All right. So the king of Edom was the, I'm being attacked by flies. Okay. Some big old ugly. What am I talking about? Lot. Remember Lot and his two daughters? That becomes Edom. That nation becomes Edom. And Lot was Abraham's nephew. They were close relatives, kin. In fact, Abraham treated him like a son. And these are the descendants of Abraham. And they sent a letter or an embassage to the king of Edom saying, "We are going through. We're just passing through. We're not going to bother you. We just want to tell you what we are doing, and we'll stay on the road." Okay. Wonder what Edom is going to do. Okay. 27. Let us pass, I pray thee, through thy country. We will not pass through the fields or through your vineyards, neither will we drink of the water of your wells. We'll go by the king's highway. We'll not turn right or left until we have passed thy borders. So they're just asking leave to go. They're asking a free passage across their country. Edom said to him, "Thou shalt not pass by me, lest I come out against thee with the sword." And the children of Israel said unto him, "We will go by the highway, and if my cattle drink of thy water, I'll pay you for it. Will, without doing anything else, go through on my feet." Okay, basically, they're trying to make peace here. Just want to pass through. We're not going to bother you. You're not going to be in any way poor because of us. And if we even drink your water, we'll pay for it. And he said, "You shall not go through." And Edom came against him with much people with a strong hand. And Edom refused to give Israel passage through his border, wherefore Israel turned away from him. The children of Israel and even the whole congregation journeyed from Kadesh and came to Mount Hor. And the Lord spake unto Moses and Aaron in Mount Hor by the coast of the land of Edom, saying, "Aaron shall be gathered to his people, for he shall not enter the land which I have given the children of Israel, because ye have rebelled against my word at the water of Meribah. Take Aaron and Eleazar his son, and bring them up the Mount Hor, and strip Aaron of his garments, and put them upon Eleazar his son, and Aaron shall be gathered into his people, and shall die there." Okay, so God is actually saying, you're on your last legs. You need to take the priestly vessels off, your vestments off, and your son will be the high priest of Israel. And then you're going to die on top of this hill. Moses did as the Lord commanded. They went up to Mount Hor in the sight of all the congregation. Moses stripped Aaron of his garments and put them on Eleazar his son, and Aaron died there in the top of the mountain. And Moses and Eleazar came down the mountain. When all the congregation saw that Aaron was dead, they mourned for him 30 days, even all the house of Israel. Okay, so you see there's consequences. And I love how the Bible just doesn't go into huge commentary. It tells what's happened, and it lets you stew it and study it and meditate on it and dwell on it. And then it'll mention things like this will be mentioned over and over again all throughout the Bible. Hundreds and hundreds of years, people are thinking, "Oh, this was significant. That was a significant step." We're even going to see that that Lot's family, the Edomites, are going to be punished later because what they did here to Israel. God is going to, hundreds of years later, strike them because they, to where there's no Edomites now. You can't go find the Edomites. The Edomites probably were in the land near Jordan, the country Jordan right now, which is where Petra is. If you've ever seen the city Petra, it's in the desert where there's beautiful things carved out of the walls. That's Edom, but there's no Edomites anymore. Okay, so God dealt with them for this reason. So a lot of these things you take note what happened and when it happened, and we'll see that Aaron is now dead, and Moses too will not get to see the promised land. Okay, so that's chapter 20, and we'll meet again tomorrow, Lord willing.